This is a Fox News alert. Debbie Reynolds, the mother of Carrie Fisher, has reportedly been rushed to the hospital after a medical emergency. TMZ is reporting it's a possible stroke, but does not have confirmation. TMZ also reporting that the 84-year-old, whose daughter Carrie died Tuesday, has been distraught since Carrie's emergency Friday on a United jet. We're going to keep you posted as soon as we get more information. And meanwhile, the Obama administration attempts to mop up its mess after turning its back on our greatest ally, Israel. But it only made things worse today. Earlier, Secretary of State John Kerry delivered what seemed like a never-ending address defending the administration's decision to let the UN condemn Israel for building settlements in the West Bank and East Jerusalem. It was a stunning scene to watch America's top diplomat publicly rebuke our longtime friend.
Because the two-state solution is the only way to achieve a just and lasting peace between Israelis and Palestinians. It is the only way to ensure Israel's future as a Jewish and democratic state. It is the only way to ensure a future of freedom and dignity for the Palestinian people. Regrettably, some seem to believe that the U.S. friendship means the U.S. must accept any policy, regardless of our own interests, our own positions. They fail to recognize that this friend, the United States of America, that has done more to support Israel than any other country.
A short while later, Israel's prime minister fired right back. Benjamin Netanyahu outraged that Secretary Kerry would be critical of his country at a time when the Middle East is going up in flames.
I must express my deep disappointment with the speech today of John Kerry, a speech that was almost as unbalanced as the anti-Israel resolution passed at the UN last week. In a speech ostensibly about peace between Israelis and Palestinians, Secretary Kerry paid lip service to the unremitting campaign of terrorism that has been waged by the Palestinians against the Jewish state for nearly a century. What he did was to spend most of his speech blaming Israel for the lack of peace by passionately condemning a policy of enabling Jews to live in their historic homeland and in their eternal capital, Jerusalem. That it's a shame that Secretary Kerry does not see this simple truth.
Okay, a sharp and immediate response from Netanyahu regarding Secretary Kerry's remarks.
Unbelievable. Another parting shot, a hit job on Bibi Netanyahu by the Obama administration on his way out of the office. Why? Think about what's gone down. So Benjamin Netanyahu came over here against President Obama's will. He sat down with Congress and said, I'm going to address Congress. Obama didn't like that. President Obama then turned around and tried to get Netanyahu, tried to undermine his reelection, tried to get him out of office, and then it goes back and forth. And this is President Obama taking the final shot at the expense of peace in the Middle East and our very, very important ally, the only democratic ally in the Middle East, Israel. I'm just blown away. Benjamin Netanyahu later on in that announcement said, the Palestinians reward Palestinians who murder Jews. And now we're giving them the currency, the Palestinians' currency at the negotiating table with Israel. It's insane. I don't know where our foreign policy is.
Heather, the curtain has finally been pulled back on exactly how the administration feels about the Israelis. And the Secretary of State spent the majority of his time really blaming Israelis for building settlements and claiming that those settlements and that was a part of a one-state solution, that Israel essentially wanted to take all this Palestinian land, make it their own, and there would never be a two-state solution. And so therefore, the United States had to come in and save the Palestinians from what the big bad Israelis were doing. Essentially what he said.
Now, Julie, how do you see this? Because this is kind of stunning in the fact that this is coming towards the end of President Barack Obama's administration, making these declarative statements, somewhat then muddying the waters in terms of trying to negotiate a peace settlement in the Middle East, and now we have this.
You know, what's puzzling to me is that in any relationship, whether it's foreign policy or personal relationships, you can't want it more than the couple, right? You can't want it more than the people involved. And in this case, John Kerry's coming out and saying, I'm going to force you, Bibi Netanyahu, to sit down with the Palestinians. And Eric, you're so right. These are people who pay what they call martyrs and what I call suicide bombers and other terrorists to come and blow up Israelis. They have not historically been good partners for peace, despite the fact that Mahmoud Abbas tends to say one thing in English and something very different to his people in Arabic. You can't want it more than the two people involved. And let me just say this on a personal level. My grandmother lived the last 25 years of her life and died in a place called Gilo, which is considered to be by the European Union, by Japan, by the United Nations, occupied territory. The Israelis consider it part of Jerusalem. It's in East Jerusalem. This would be one of the questions, one of the territories that would be up in a final negotiation for settlement. I do not support settlements personally. But I don't think that the way that John Kerry has gone about doing this...
Why don't you support him?
I'll tell you why I don't support settlements. I think ultimately it is in the Israelis' own interest. One day, not with this particular Palestinian Authority, certainly not with Hamas, but one day I'm hopeful that they will have an opportunity for a Palestinian state somewhere on the territory of these settlements.
They declare that territory Palestinian.
Well, first of all, there's no territory that's considered Palestinian because there's never been a Palestinian people.
They think so.
Ultimately, you're going to have to do something about this because if you want Israel to be a majority Jewish country, eventually, I'm not saying it's going to be tomorrow, but eventually, you will have to create a homeland for the Palestinians. Otherwise, you're going to lose the Jewish character of Israel. It's going to happen demographically. So to me, the point is this. I understand what John Kerry's doing. I don't understand what the point of it is out the door saying to two people who have no...
He's defending his boss and saying nobody's been better to Israel.
Maybe, but they're so afraid of the Donald Trump administration and how they will handle Israel that they tried to pull the pin on the grenade. In fact, they did pull the pin on the grenade and threw it right there in the middle of Israel today. One interesting thing to note, when you heard John Kerry speaking about Hamas, he referred to Hamas as a militant group, okay, which is very different from a terror group. By the way, the U.S. State Department considers Hamas to still be a terror group. This is the organization that encouraged attacks on Israelis. That was practically the start of a third intifada when they were encouraging them to go out and just stab civilians and run over and kill civilians with cars. And that was a huge problem that they had two years ago in 2014 and still have to a certain extent. But interesting that he used that language.
Okay, so we're going to have this is President-elect Donald Trump on his remarks regarding the economy. Take a listen.
I was just called by the head people at Sprint, and they're going to be bringing 5,000 jobs back to the United States. They're taking them from other countries. They're bringing them back to the United States. And Massa and some other people were very much involved in that, so I want to thank them. And also OneWeb, a new company, is going to be hiring 3,000 people. So that's very exciting. So we have a combination of Sprint for 5,000 jobs, and that's coming from all over the world, and they're coming back into the United States, which is a nice change. And also OneWeb, 3,000 jobs. That's a new company. And it was done through Massa, and a terrific guy, and we appreciate it. Okay?
Mr. President-elect, did you speak with President Obama today?
I did. He phoned me. We had a very nice conversation.
Did you bring up any of your concerns about these roadblocks?
We had a general conversation. I think the Secretary's speech really spoke for itself, but we had a very general conversation. Very, very nice. Appreciate everybody calling.
President, you've been critical of the UN lately. Do you want the United States to leave the UN? Are you considering that move?
The UN has such tremendous potential, not living up to its potential. There is such tremendous potential, but it is not living up. When do you see the United Nations solving problems? They don't. They cause problems. So if it lives up to the potential, it's a great thing, and if it doesn't, it's a waste of time and money. Okay, thank you very much.
And that was President-elect Donald Trump making some remarks. Reporters eagerly awaiting that, talking about the economy, jobs added with Sprint, and then also touching on the United Nations, which he has been critical of in the past, saying that it is a waste sometimes of money unless they live up to their potential. So sort of encouraging them to do great things in the future versus being part of the problem. Eric, your reaction?
So President Obama called Donald Trump. They made it very clear that Obama phoned him. I'm sure it's something like, hey, Donald, are we good? Because this whole UN thing, you sure we're good? You sure? Okay.
You think Obama cares
make sure we're good,
You
right?
think he cares?
No.
I don't think he cares.
Listen, I think President Obama he'll care when Donald Trump starts signing all these executive orders over, undoing some of these resolutions that President Obama signed. But I got to say, I was hoping for a little bit more teeth to the economic part of the announcement. He is pointing out that jobs, what he ran on keeping jobs in America, he's doing that to get another company added to the
list.
Okay, so America first and promoting the economy here. Tom, we get your thoughts.
He should do more of these type of press conferences. I mean, this one was a little brief, but it's exciting to him at least to see him stand and answer questions. But he's going to. Trump has this thing. He attacks online, and then he comes out and he's a little nicer when he's speaking in public. So he attacked the UN on Twitter. Then he comes out and he says they have tremendous potential. He says if they can solve problems, they can live up to their potential. He sees a lot of hope for the UN. So, you know, that was good. But I don't know what this announcement. There wasn't a lot of meat on the bones. This is the Sprint announcement. I don't know. But
look, Sprint and another company, 8,000 jobs. We will take it. We'll take any job. I don't care if he's announcing 500 jobs or whether it's 50,000 jobs. The point is bringing jobs back, and that contributes to the optimism. And later on in the show, we're going to talk about some of the new poll numbers and how Americans are feeling about the year 2017, and they're feeling really strong about it. And so that's a good thing.
Hey, it's positive, Julie. I mean, if it's your family member that has a job that they get to keep here or a job that's added, you're excited about it. This is part of the process and the progression forward to be able to.
I love it. I love the fact that Barack Obama brought, millions of jobs back. I know how much everybody around this table gave him credit for that. I'm sorry. Do we have not?
No,
we didn't have net job growth.
I remember when he lost the jobs. Well, he just brought those jobs.
You're talking about the fact that there's massive job growth under Obama, and I think you can't disprove that there isn't.
Well, I can prove that there was massive job loss.
Are you guys being sarcastic over there?
No. What are you talking about? When he people work,
the net result
and
is
the part-time jobs.
The net result.
Fewer Americans working now.
You can blame the Bush administration. Nobody was elected in the worst recession ever. Okay, all right.
So many Americans have decided that it's not worth it for them to work. That they stayed home, or you have people cobbling together part-time jobs.
Nobody's praying more than I am for Donald Trump to make America great again, to bring all these jobs back. I can't wait to watch him do it, and I hope he does it. That's all I can say.
Let's end on that optimism and see if we can tackle the problems in Israel right now, shall we? Let's see if the producers can get this ready. There's an additional piece of sound from Benjamin Netanyahu saying that it has absolutely incontestable evidence that the U.S. was behind the UN vote. Listen to this.
Israel hopes that the outgoing Obama administration will prevent any more damage being done to Israel at the UN in its waning days. I wish I could be comforted by the promise that the U.S. says we will not bring any more resolutions to the UN. We have it on absolutely incontestable evidence that the United States organized, advanced, and brought this resolution to the United Nations Security Council.
Okay, so very strong statement there, strong allegation, but they say they have incontestable evidence, Eric, that this is in fact the case.
It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter if they brought it. They knew it was coming anyway, and by the fact that we did not veto the resolution, that's all you had to do. It's a non-vote. Non-veto is a vote in favor of it, and everyone knew it. The 14 members of the Security Council knew it. So if they're not going to, no one else is going to veto it. If you're not going to do it, this thing's going to sail through.
But that's a very serious allegation that he's making. And if he's making that allegation, I understand that a lot of this is confidential information and it's intelligence that they can't share. But if you're going to make that allegation in public, I think the public, both in Israel and here, deserves to see some evidence of what he's talking about.
Evidence. You mean like when all these groups say that there was Russian hacking going on in the election?
Yeah, I've said from day one that Obama needs to release the evidence. He claims he will, but in the same way, I think Netanyahu needs to release this evidence.
But if it's as simple as, hey, by the way, we're not going to veto if you bring that resolution again, we're not going to veto.
That was bad enough, yeah.
That's all you need.
You got it, but you're making a very serious allegation, and I think, again, if you're making that kind of allegation, this is exactly like the Russian hacking, there needs to be some sort of declassified information that both our country and the Israeli public deserves to see. When the Prime Minister, our greatest ally, is making an allegation against our president, I think we need to see what it is.
And I'm wondering why they're not handing it over now. If they have this information, why not give it to the incoming Trump administration, and why not give it to the Obama administration, and then make a portion of that public so we all know what they're talking about.
Exactly right.
But what Eric said, it doesn't really matter. It's the abstention that matters, not whether they arranged it. It's big enough news, the abstention, right?
Well, it's going further.
It's pretty horrific if, in fact, the United States is behind it. So it is something very significant. That's a very strong statement he's making. I suspect that if he's making that statement, he has the evidence to back it up. He's going to have to proffer it at some point. All right. Bibi Netanyahu is very disappointed in the Obama administration, as we said, but he did thank President-elect Trump for his support today. You're going to hear all of that next. Stay with us.
back now to the Obama administration's pathetic defense today for throwing Israel right under the bus, the wheel on its neck, on her neck, on Friday at the United Nations. President Obama may not have Israel's back, but President-elect Donald Trump made it crystal clear he does, tweeting, quote, "We cannot continue to let Israel be treated with such total disdain and disrespect. They used to have a friend in the U.S., but not anymore. The beginning of the end was the horrible Iran deal, and now this, the UN. Stay strong, Israel. January 20th is fast approaching." Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu thanked him in a tweet and also in his public statement today.
Israel looks forward to working with President-elect Trump and with the American Congress, Democrats and Republicans alike, to mitigate the damage that this resolution has done and ultimately to repeal it.
KG, I feel good that President-elect Donald Trump has a good relationship with Benjamin Netanyahu.
Absolutely. You want the United States president to have good relationships with other foreign leaders, including and most especially key allies of the United States. The fact that this is happening just right on the brink of him being able to become president and get sworn in, it just makes it very challenging for the president-elect because he's going to have to undo the damage that has been created, one, by the Iran deal and by this betrayal of Israel. It's significant, it is compelling internationally, and it is certainly problematic. So
we have a strong democracy in the Middle East where there aren't very many of those. Yes. As an ally.
Well, yes, and the thing is that, so Israel's not happy with the Obama administration, but who is? You said it was a parting shot. That's a good description of it, right? And Heather, you said that their true colors were showing now, that the curtain has been pulled back.
Yeah, well, on how this administration feels about Israel.
How they feel about Israel. But as far as policy goes, it's meaningless. Because like Trump said, January 20th is coming up fast. If he meant any of this, he would have done it before. Why is he doing it as a parting shot? Because he doesn't mean any of it. Because it's completely insincere.
I disagree with you.
Yeah.
Because part of it is the whole PR push. You agree with him?
I agree with you.
But it's the whole PR push, right? So now you have the United Nations, and we can all laugh at the United Nations, but there are a whole lot of countries in this world, correctly or incorrectly, who take them very seriously. And so the pressure builds up on the United Nations and all of those other countries to go after Israel. Israel loses us as an ally, as it did at the United Nations for the very first time, and that becomes a real problem going forward.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think this is hugely problematic. It puts the United States in a bad position. It's a position that we should never be in against Israel. And with this happening, I think it has huge diplomatic implications.
Another opportunity for Donald Trump to come in and say, you know what? Right. We got this. I'm going to fix this relationship.
But he has a lot of messes to clean up on aisle 7.
I know,
it's
but
very
they keep spilling the right? bottle on aisle 7, and stuff keeps breaking.
Yeah. But, one of the big subjects that will come up is some members of Congress are now talking about what to do about the United Nations. Do we defund the United Nations?
Love this idea.
And there's so much money that goes into it. We have basically two pots. There's one that goes into a general fund, and then one that goes into United Nations peacekeeping. The United Nations peacekeeping one is like $2.3 billion, and we can question whether or not they always do what is right. What's the third pot then?
There's other UN initiatives. Yeah. We put in 2010, $6 billion into UN initiatives.
Why not in part defund
what we also
United Nations, but still pay for peacekeeping and some of the things that we can all agree upon are important?
Let me just say this. You know what we also did back in September? We signed a 10-year deal with Israel, the biggest and largest deal in its history, for $38 billion worth of military technology that we're going to give to the Israelis. So I want to focus on that as a very big positive, and you have to commend the Obama administration for doing that, because a lot of that money goes towards protecting them from the Katyusha rockets and other missiles that come across from Gaza and come across.
Protecting them from the deal that the abstaining from the resolution is actually fortifying.
No, it's not fortifying the tech. Come on, Gaza was not on Barack Obama's watch. You can't blame him on that.
I'm not blaming him. I'm simply saying if you embolden the area, if you embolden the Palestinians, you embolden Hamas, you fund Hamas, you're basically saying do your thing, and Israel's going, wait a minute,
can I just say this? Can I just say this? Because unfortunately this issue doesn't lend itself to sound bites. It's actually a really complex issue. You can be pro-Israel. I am incredibly pro-Israel, and you could still be against their settlement policy. It doesn't mean that you can give away.
Netanyahu says the Palestinians pay people to murder Jews.
Absolutely right.
You can still be in favor of them getting some sort of deal on the land, on that land. You're in favor of that?
Wait a second. Did I just say that today, under the circumstances today, do I want to give them the West Bank? No, because I saw what happened with Gaza. I don't support that. I am saying if you continue to build...
You want to divide Jerusalem?
No, I don't want to divide Jerusalem. No, Eric, that's not what I'm saying at all. Can I just finish and tell you exactly what I'm for?
Sure.
If you keep building out settlements further and further and further out, that means you're essentially precluding the possibility of any Palestinian state any time in the future.
And do the Palestinians recognize Israel?
One day.
But not this day.
Did I say that I want it to happen today? The answer is no.
Israel could
what
give
are you
up
confused
all
about?
of the land, could give up all of the land, and that is not going to change things. They will still want to wipe Israel off the map. There was a time when Osama bin Laden said, if the U.S. just gets out of Arab lands, we will stop attacking.
There was a time, when
we would get out of certain countries, then they wouldn't see through, just as
there was a time when nobody thought the Northern Irish would ever come to terms with each other either. I mean, there's a time you hope and pray that eventually people will be able to reconcile.
I agree.
We still haven't really accepted that in Ireland, but that's a whole other subject and probably another show. But there's very little incentive right now, for Palestine to be able to come to the table and want to do any kind of negotiation with Israel. Because, by the way, also, like Heather said, they don't want to. They don't even want to recognize Israel. They are doing their level best to destroy Israel. And having help but with their friends in Hamas. And so the problem is you have to be realistic about outcomes, about expectations, and about true intentions. And what President Obama did and Secretary Kerry did was a huge disservice to any kind of peace in the Middle East whatsoever, and essentially crippled and did a leg swipe on Israel.
Let me give a quick example of the hatred, in this area. Jordan, 2003, I'm there. The same song is playing over and over again in the cab. This is the beginning of the Iraq War, and I'm there for Fox covering it. I finally asked the cab driver, what is this song that I'm hearing playing over and over again? He said, I hate Jews. Oh my God. I said, excuse me? That's the name of the song? That was the name of the song. I said, who sings this? Who performs it? He said, a school teacher. That is very clear just how strong the hatred runs.
And yet Jordan and Israel are living in peace today and have a military cooperation. So
it's majority Palestinian.
Nevertheless, that's my point.
Israel is surrounded by enemies.
We got
to help them.
One Democrat in Congress thinks her party is too nice as she refuses to work with President-elect Donald Trump before he even takes office. Here, Maxine Waters explained that one next.
It's been a very rough year for the Democratic Party, yeah, that's for sure. California Congresswoman Maxine Waters thinks she knows why.
That has been a problem in my party, that when we're in power, we're nice. We bend over backwards to work with people.
Waters thinks her party's problems stem from being too nice to the other side. Meanwhile, during the same interview, she indicated she's not going to be nice to President-elect Trump when he takes office.
Shocking. Trump has stepped on everybody. He's called names, he's lied, he's done everything to show that he really doesn't have good values and he can't be trusted. Why should we work with someone that we can't trust? I don't trust him. I don't believe him. I have no intentions of sitting down with him. I'm going to fight him every inch of the way, and I'm going to help show the American people that they too cannot trust him, that this is a man that does not live up to his promises.
Wow. So, this is actually a big debate going on in the Democratic Party as to whether you work with Donald Trump and try to accomplish something, or you don't work with Donald Trump and try to make him a one-termer. And let me just say this, Eric. Back in 2010, on the cusp of taking over the House, John Boehner said this about Barack Obama's agenda. We're going to do everything, and I mean everything we can, to kill it, stop it, slow it down, whatever we can. And then you remember famously Mitch McConnell said he wanted to make Obama a one-termer and really did not cooperate with him and anything. It was smart political strategy, I think, for the Republicans to do that because, in fact, they did get the House back and the Senate back and ultimately won election in 2012. So the question, 2016. So the question is, strategically, is she right?
Well, do you remember what happened after that? When Harry Reid and Nancy Pelosi and Barack Obama cried that they couldn't get anything done because Republicans wouldn't play ball with them? Right. Well, so stop crying because here you're considering doing the same thing.
Of course, but it's a smart strategy.
Knock yourself out. 52 senators, 63 majority in the House. fine, Maxine, you got on TV for a couple of days, but that's where it's going to end. Donald Trump is a force to be reckoned with, and I think you're going to see more Democrats deciding it's better to work with him than against him. You don't want to go up against Donald Trump as president. I just don't think they're going to want to do that. I think that's a fool's bet.
They're grossly underestimating his potential and his reach and the power of the people behind him in terms of the American people, what they want to see happen. He also now has a very strong position in the House and the Senate, so I think it's foolish. I mean, she just sounds like immature. She does. She sounds immature in the way of her approach. That she doesn't even want to listen. At least try to pretend or fake that you want to actually listen and give the president like a chance to be able to. Why can't you try to do something for inner city schools and for communities that are suffering with horrible crime that is happening, for the large number of African Americans being murdered and slaughtered in the streets because they don't have the jobs, they don't have the infrastructure, and they don't have the hope each day to be able to safe to walk down the street and take their kids to school. Like, why doesn't she want to be part of the solution?
Well,
she's an obstructionist.
Well, but you're assuming that she's not taking her lesson and drawing her lesson from what the Republicans did, and I think successfully Heather did for the last 8 years. I mean, they did politically get their way. If they continue to obstruct Trump, potentially they're going to pick up seats if Trump doesn't succeed in the next few years. The party will be blamed. The Republicans will be blamed.
On this issue, I think it's always a mistake to say I won't work with the other party, that we will stand up against anything that they say. I think it's a better approach to work behind the scenes and do just that, but at least go in, take a meeting, listen to them. And Donald Trump might surprise them. He's come around on some issues. He's taken different approaches than traditional Republicans have on other issues, whether it's trade or the issue of waterboarding, for example. He had previously said that he was for it, and then he started talking with Mattis and said, okay, I can see that another solution might be better. So they might surprise him.
What, you're laughing and shaking your head.
I'm laughing, and of course I disagree. I'm sick of people pretending they want to work together when they don't. Maxine Waters does not want to work with the Republicans ever. She didn't want to work with the Republicans in the past. She won't want to work with Trump in the future. Be honest. That's what we want people to, tell it like it is. Maxine Waters' constituents don't want her to work with Trump, so they shouldn't. If you have some people who are in swing states who want to get in and work with Trump, they can do that. But if you don't believe in Trump's agenda, go ahead. Protest all you want. I mean, that's the way we work here in America.
Yeah, here's the problem for Democrats that Republicans didn't face so much over the last 8 years. A lot of the senators up in 2 years are from states like West Virginia and North Dakota and others that Trump won. And so I predict to you that you're going to have a bunch of senators, Joe Manchin, others, Heidi Heitkamp, who have no choice but to work with Trump. And so I think Chuck Schumer is going to have...
is going to be a rough go for Democrats in the Senate.
Unless Maxine Waters is right and they obstruct and make sure that Trump fails, and then therefore they can blame the Republican Party for that and pick up seats. That's a legitimate strategy that Democrats are straddling.
Hey, congratulations, Democrat. Your strategy is let's hope America fails.
That's exactly what the Republicans have been working on for years.
So well so
Next,
far. My goodness.
The Radio City Rockettes are slated to perform at Mr. Trump's inauguration. One of the dancers is publicly voicing outrage about the high-profile gig, and hear that drama ahead. Stay home.
She was a young American.
You all know the famous Radio City Rockettes. They're set to perform at President-elect Trump's inauguration on January 20th. However, some of the dancers might be trying to get out of it. One Rockette complained about the assignment to Marie Claire, saying, quote, "We do a lot of events, but there have been no events that could cause trauma, and doing this would cause trauma for some people. This is making our show, our job, our name branded as right-wing, an extreme right-wing. This is not a Republican or Democrat issue. This is a women's rights issue. This is an issue of racism, sexism, something that's much bigger than politics." The company that employs the group says none of the dancers are compelled to perform, and there are actually more dancers willing to perform than there are spots available.
Exactly. Exactly.
They all want to get in on the inauguration, right?
Maybe the one who was against it wasn't invited to dance.
I mean, it's just so crazy.
She says her friend who is part of it feels unsafe or something, Kimberly.
Is that what it is?
She doesn't want to wear that costume.
No safe spaces for the legs.
Yes.
Is that what it is? I don't know. I'm available if they're tight. A couple spots. Right, Kimberly? You got to be recession-proof these days. You got to do a lot of different jobs.
You would be great out there.
Thank you, Heather.
You really would. Does anyone care, by the way? Does anyone care if this so-called Mary, and by the way, that's not her real name because she feared retribution when speaking to Mary Claire magazine. Does anyone really care if all the Rockettes show up? I mean, Rockettes are nice and everything. Everybody loves the Rockettes, but come on, Mary, give me a break.
But Mary,
quite contrary. Hold on a second. One of these people told Marie Claire, an African-American woman in the troop, she fears for her rights and her safety under an administration with reported white supremacists in its ranks. Wow. Oh, please. This is as much about Marie Claire as it does about this dopey Mary.
Somebody needs some attention. Is that what it is?
Well, can you blame them from the press that they're reading? I mean, if they tune into the mainstream media, that's where they're getting all these ideas in their heads, right?
True.
Julie, I'm not surprised at this because you know the Rockettes are pretty much synonymous with modern feminism, right?
Political activists. Yes. It's on their resume.
Well, you know, I unfortunately did not meet the height requirements for the Rockettes, so I have a little bit of a grudge against them. Also,
you have the legs, though, Julie.
You have a grudge against the Rockettes?
Because they have like a 5'5".
Give me 5'6".
5'6". I'm too short.
Okay, well, they just want that wonderful line up there. They want everyone to be
don't try to excuse it.
Look,
they're tightest.
It sounds like you checked into this. It sounds like Julie checked this out.
Remember Elaine in Seinfeld? Remember how she danced?
Yeah.
She's like a Rockette compared to how I dance. So I would never qualify. But I will say this. She also said that they've had people not show up, that they've had empty seats this year, which never happens around Christmas time. And she thinks it's because of the backlash against the Rockettes dancing.
Well, who's to say the city? Well, maybe it's the other way. Maybe people, maybe they're
not showing up out of solidarity?
Well, maybe there's Trump supporters out there who are sick of them complaining about having to go to the inauguration, so they don't want to go see their show.
People should be only so lucky to be able to perform and be asked to perform. This is a great country. We have a democracy. We have a new president. Everybody needs to put their big boy pants on or their pantyhose or whatever and get over it. I mean, it's so crazy.
Eric.
And wasn't there a young lady who now has been tapped to sing the national anthem, I think?
Yes.
And her album sales are off the charts right now because someone else allegedly said they weren't going to do it, so she said, I'll do it, and look at her. She's going to be a superstar. Good for her. And Donald Trump's right. I don't need celebrities and superstars. I need people, real
election
people.
About the people, about the Americans.
Why is he hanging out with Kanye if he doesn't need celebrities?
No. Kanye came to him to kiss the ring, please. Let's make this very clear.
So why is he hanging out with Kanye?
When you hang out, Conway showed up and said, hey, by the way, I don't think he was invited to show up. I think he just
How do you get up to, so if, like I show up to Trump Tower, I could just get upstairs?
Well, are you Kanye?
That's my point. So he does need to hang out with celebrities.
What? No. He said you can come up.
The point is, he has said from the beginning, have an open mind, want to sit down and talk to everybody.
Why don't they not do the showbiz at all at the inauguration? I mean, just go no celebrities, no nothing, no songs. Just get up there, take the swearing in, and get to work.
I like that.
I like that.
Draw the contrast.
Hey, Rockettes.
The best entertainment is going to be the new president speaking with his inaugural address anyway, so that's going to be a tough act.
It's going to be a tremendous address.
Proceed.
Exactly. So don't,
It's going to be tremendous. The best address ever. Biggest. Yes.
Big league. Okay, next. Kimberly and Eric have a very exciting show this weekend to tell you about, so make sure you stay tuned. Here's a sneak peek. Back in a moment.
There's your big hand in my shot.
Say goodbye to 2016 and bring in the new year with the Fox News Channel. We're live from the heart of Times Square, bringing celebrations all around the country, hearing from the people, the biggest musical performances, and your favorite Fox personalities. Kimberly Guilfoyle and Eric Bolling host live. And so much more. New Year's Eve. Our must-see coverage starts at 8 p.m.
Well, 2016 winding down, and guess who is going to help us bring in the new year? Kimberly and Eric. Once again, this Saturday, they are back in Times Square co-hosting the All-American New Year, so you don't want to miss that one. They will be ready to party with us beginning at 11 o'clock Eastern. And bring on the bones. What is it that you eat? The bones.
Oh, the
chicken bones.
bones. Chicken bones.
Chicken bones again. Everybody likes
chicken bones. Oh, the chicken wings.
Buffalo wings.
Actually, maybe we should add that in. A little chicken wing eating contest. A lot of people are having delicious snacks, pigs in a blanket, chicken wings.
Exactly.
Unbelievable
you
treats.
against Omarosa or Naked Cowboy, all three eat chicken wings. You're a killer.
I'm a killer. Yeah, I'll take them on both.
I want to tell you about how excited people are to start out the new year. There were some great new polls out, and one of them shows that people are fired up about 2017. A majority think that life will be better in the coming year. President-elect Donald Trump is taking some credit for some positive news these days, tweeting this. The U.S. Consumer Confidence Index for December surged nearly 4 points to 113, the highest level in more than 15 years. Thanks, Donald. And another poll showed that 55% of Americans say that they are optimistic about the future, and that's up 12 points from last year. Kimberly, what do you think?
I love this. I feel optimistic, too, because why not? Let's just see what we can get done in this country. I'm excited about people looking forward to having some jobs, to putting America first, to stimulating the economy, to having a great infrastructure. Let's rebuild, starting with New York, some of these roads and streets out here, thanks to de Blasio. I mean, there's a lot to be done, and I think that people are really, at least the people that supported him, are enthusiastic and are optimistic, and I like to see that. And I hope that, you know, the Democrats and the liberals, right, Julie, give them a chance.
I'm scared out of my mind, but I'm happy for everybody.
Come on, Julie. Are you really?
All joking aside, I am, well, I don't want to get depressing.
Are you really
So I'm going to
scared?
say, I'm going to just say, I hope you guys are all right. I hope everybody who's optimistic is right, and I will leave it at that because I want to be positive for the new year.
There are some exciting things to talk about. You know, we had Carrier keeping the jobs here. I love this. Boeing is talking about keeping the price down for Air Force One. Lockheed Martin saying over the weekend, its CEO saying that they're going to work with the United States on bringing down the cost of the F-35. Then we had this news about the phone jobs earlier today with Donald Trump. So we've got some good things to look forward to.
You know how important the Boeing thing is? It doesn't seem like a lot of money, $1 billion on a scale of a $4.2 or $4.3 trillion
But you know what?
budget.
I love the idea that a U.S. president is sticking up for us even in the smallest of ways and that companies are responding to.
That was my point, is that it's even if he does $1 billion out of a $4.2 trillion budget, he wants to cut $1 billion off the cost. That's fantastic. It's a heads up to every corporation that does business with the United States. Say, you know what, if we don't like the deal you've struck for us over the last, 10, 20, 30 years, we're going to renegotiate the deal. And Donald Trump he loves making a good deal, and I think he's going to be great at this. So, Julie, I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised.
I hope you're right. I honestly hope you're right.
You have to be pleasantly surprised because the people have been talking Armageddon. So no matter what Trump does, he's going to exceed expectations. I mean, the way they're talking, if he doesn't start a nuclear war, it's a success for Trump.
That's what I'm scared of.
You
nailed why I'm a little terrified.
But you and your friends have set the bar so low, and you've hyped up the hysteria.
Yes.
That has taken hold in the American left. And just basically all the Democrats. I mean, the hysteria is at all-time highs, which means the relief that will come next fall when all is fine.
When I don't die in a nuclear holocaust, I will be incredibly relieved and very happy.
See?
I know, but Hillary Clinton is more of a hawk than Donald Trump. This is like a whole made-up, bizarre
I don't know what Donald
boogeyman
Trump is. That's what scares
thing.
me, but yeah.
Really?
They're worried about all the wrong things.
I just don't want somebody to tweet him something that he doesn't like, and then, next thing
I hope he
yada,
tweets.
yada, they end up with a, tactical nuclear weapon.
I hope he tweets from the POTUS account. That'd be fantastic. Obama does.
I'm sure he will.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I'm sure he will.
So many people want him to stop tweeting. I hope he stays on that.
I'm okay.
Okay, predictions for 2017. Anybody?
I hope I remain alive for Dr. Lewis.
Oh my God.
She'll lose now, raise the bar for me to exceed imminent death, sweet death. So, I feel better already. I feel more optimistic already. Thank you.
Fantastic.
Should we predict a fantastic New Year's Eve?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm excited because we're going to be down with the crowd. It's going to be really very cool. I mean, we're by the NASDAQ, but we're going to go down and do a little bit of the...
With the people?
Yeah.
You're going to be right there?
How this came about? Last year on the top of the Knickerbocker Hotel, 55 stories
Looking
up.
down on people. That's what you like best.
Right. No, but then when we went... No, stop. So KG and I went down and did the thing for Fox Broadcast at about 10 o'clock or something. And while we're down there, we're walking through the crowd. NYPD wants to talk to Kimberly, wants to take pictures. And she goes, hey, follow me. I turn around and Vanilla Ice. She's talking to Vanilla Ice.
Vanilla Ice, Jenny McCarthy, a whole bunch of people, yeah.
A bunch of people were, they have the rows so you can go talk to people. It was just where we needed to be. We needed to be down there instead of up
With
top.
Vanilla Ice.
It was so fun.
No, I mean, literally, there's
The point is, there's everybody there from all over the world. Everybody wants to be in Times Square, so we're really in the epicenter of ringing in the new year, It's everybody's bucket list. They want to come to Times Square. So many people say, oh, you're so lucky. Yes, it's going to be cold, but guess what? When you're down there, the enthusiasm, the energy, everybody is so pumped up. They've been standing there for hours just to be able to get a spot right where the barricades are, to be there and experience the whole thing. You see all the performers up close. Remember, we saw Miley Cyrus like right here as close as you are to me, Julian. My favorite.
We'll look for you and the chicken wings.
Yeah.
All right, we will be watching Eric and Kimberly and the whole team of
Heather.
folks there on New Year's Eve. One more thing is coming up next.